Hello everybody, happy Thursday. We are going live today with Shaya Hecht actually. And we're starting a new series, which is very exciting, where we ask our professionals for their advice, like life advice. And I'm very excited about it. So Shaya is our first one that's doing this with us, and we're very excited. So we're just going to wait for him to join. Thank you for joining, Miriam. I meant to come on before. Hi Shaya, I see you. Okay, amazing. Let me see if I can invite you. I meant to announce this live on stories, but of course I did not get to it. So it's being very excited. You, Shaya, you did a good job. Thank you for joining, everybody. Hi, Shaya. Amazing.
Hello.
You did a really good job for a live newbie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure. Amazing. Okay, so thanks for being so brave. This is our first time doing this. So I announced to everybody that this is what we're doing. We're asking our professionals, and you're the first one, for their life advice, essentially their best advice for them to give to our community. So it's 4 questions, and we'll just hit them one by one. So what's the worst piece of advice that you ever received? I feel like that's always a good place to start, the worst.
Yeah, that is. I don't have the most jarring story of all time. I was thinking about that, but I do remember. Can you hear me well?
I think it's a tiny bit choppy. It's a tiny bit choppy, but I'm making the words.
Okay. All right. Let me know if it gets worse. So basically, I remember being in a very vulnerable spot in my career, actually, where you're always trying to grow and get bigger and bigger. And I had been in clinics for some time, and then you're always thinking can I move on? Can I try? Should I try? Should I risk it? And you have the people who cheerlead you, and then you have the people who are what are you doing? You really think you're going to be successful. So I definitely encountered that, and it put me in a pretty dark spot for a little bit, but thankfully I did not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. So basically, the advice was no, you're not ready to take the leap into private practice.
Right. Well, no, not about that. It was actually about, do you actually think you'll be better off? You're more better off here, even financially, even experience-wise and stuff like that. And obviously, there's what to say about that. But thankfully, I had people who really believed in me. So I listened to them.
And you listen to those people. Amazing. I love that. And I think many professionals can listen to that and be don't people tell them stay here, it's safer. There's a it's more you have the supervision, and you have the the commitment of this amount of clients, and this it could be salary, and going out
for the phone to ring.
Exactly. Well, now you're extremely sought after, so I'm glad that you made that choice.
Thank you.
Amazing. Okay. What's the best piece of advice, or the piece of advice that you would give to your younger self? That either the best advice that you ever received, or something you would tell your younger self. It could be therapeutic related. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah. So let's start with the best advice I ever received. Yeah. I'm sorry. I think there's some sort of delay. I hope it's not on my end.
Yeah, it's a tiny bit of a delay, I think.
Okay, 1 second.
Maybe it's your AirPods. I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm just wild guess. I don't know.
Let's see if closing 20 other apps helped. Okay. Did that help? I don't know.
That might help, yeah.
Okay. So
anyway, far, so good, yeah.
Okay, so the best advice, I don't know if it's the best advice, but something that came to mind. When I was, I was in a pretty serious yeshiva, and you really have to stick with the program and stuff like that. But I also had certain passions that were very meaningful to me, and also would help me parnassa-wise. So for example, I was singing, I don't know if people probably have seen that. So I was a singer before I was a therapist, and to be able to do that while you're supposed to always be in yeshiva is not something so simple. So I remember reaching out and speaking to a Rebbe of mine, and he told me that I was actually very surprised. I thought for sure he would say that you have to not do that. But he told me that when there's something that you love to do, that you're good at, that is a passion of yours, to suppress that will make you miserable. So obviously it has to be balanced. You have to focus on what you're focused on now. But it's very, very important to always nurture the side of you that is, that is meaningful to you, that you're good at, that you enjoy. Yeah. So that's definitely something I still try to do.
I love that.
Very, very hard. But yeah.
Yeah, and actually I did see once on your Instagram or something that you were like singing somewhere and I was like, that is the coolest thing. I love that you're like a therapist and that you
Yeah.
can still like do that and be so cool about it. I really thought that was cool.
Yes, it's not
Yeah.
simple, but
And I think it's amazing
I
advice. Like,
yeah,
yeah, you've like I'm
I still do
imagining
that.
it comes up in session or something like that. Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay,
I also
amazing. You're the
yeah.
most valuable. Yeah. So what were
Sorry,
you
there's a
saying? I cut you
delay,
off.
so
I
like
didn't hear. I know.
yeah, I think I'm 10 seconds behind you. No, it's all good. No,
Okay.
it's sometimes I do. It's very hard to sing. Sometimes it's you sit
Yeah.
in darkness like all day, and it's very therapeutic
Hmm.
to actually push myself to do it. So it's another lesson that's really important to like really push and find it.
Push yourself.
Sometimes you got to
Exactly.
dig deep.
Right. Exactly. And had that rabbi told you like, no, this is not appropriate or whatever, you would have suppressed it and then
Exactly.
you would not have had it
For
as that
sure.
like hobby or coping skill or whatever it is. And I think that's so
For
important.
sure. Definitely.
Amazing. Okay. And what's the most valuable lesson your therapist or mentor or coach ever spoke, like taught you? But if you can speak about a therapist, I think that like is meaningful to
Yeah.
people. So if it applies, okay.
Yeah. So okay. For three, or this is two.
This is
This is the
three.
third
We're on
question.
three already. Yeah. The
Okay,
most
we're on
valuable
three.
lesson
Okay.
your therapist ever taught
Okay.
you. Yeah.
So
Or told
the
like it doesn't have to be a lesson. It could be like something.
okay. So there's a few things. First of all, just I don't know what comes to mind is me being a therapist. It's a very I don't know if people like realize this. I don't know. I definitely didn't realize this going in, but it's something that's
Hmm.
like it's really terrifying for me
Hmm.
to have the responsibility of people and their lives and how vulnerable they could
Hmm.
be and how susceptible they could be to anything that I tell them is like a very, very scary prospect, especially if I'm not such a resolved person myself.
Hmm.
So that's like just something that's like scary.
Hmm.
And one thing that supervisors taught me was that you can't underestimate like the power of being the person that somebody taps into for
Hmm.
just support or help or
Hmm.
something like that. Like that alone, what I think about is always like, am I well trained? Do I have enough? Am I going to say the smartest thing ever? Things like that. And I think what it comes down to is being so genuinely and wanting to help other people to give someone that opportunity is just a tremendous value. It's like priceless.
Yeah.
So that,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
I love
yeah,
that. Yes, like having a good amount of fear, like knowing your responsibility basically is like really important and like it sounds like
yeah,
you really like you hold that with you with but like with
yeah.
love and like you kind of like balance the fear of like the responsibility with the love of like you're bringing your full self and like I can attest to that. Like I hear about your work and I see what you bring even on Instagram and like it's very apparent that like you're fully invested in your work and you're like being an amazing
Thank you.
therapist and I think that's invaluable.
Thank
Amazing.
you.
Okay,
Yeah.
last question.
Hmm.
The last question is what advice would you impart to let's say a young therapist or not let's say young in the field not necessarily younger in age but they look up to you like you're on Instagram you're obviously have like a thriving practice you're doing amazing work with clients you have a great reputation what advice would you tell them they're maybe just starting out in the space what would be your words of wisdom to share for them
First of all, I think I
particularly.
could spend, yeah, I think I could spend an hour on this topic, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I
I'll
know.
try to like, I'll try to give you like a snapshot.
Just
But
one piece of advice you're pick any end of the hat.
yeah, yeah. I, I don't want to narrow it down to one, if that's okay. I'll list like a few things because
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, go
I
for it.
can't pick the
Go
one
for it. Yeah.
thing that like stands out, you know?
Right.
Um,
No, that's for sure. That's fine. We have time.
so yeah, so a few things that like I know for sure that I struggled with and I still continue to as well sometimes is like there's so it's so vast. The field is like so wide and there's constantly new um, opportunities, trainings, studies, everything's coming out. And it sometimes moves like so
Right.
quickly, even though it's like not so quick. But like you get into
Mhm.
like a routine and what you do, you hear about what other people are doing. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing that. And you start to like really start questioning like a lot of like what you are doing and how much more do I need to do and maybe
Mhm.
imposter syndrome shows up and things like that. So something that
Sure.
that that was tremendous for me, which I heard about actually early on, even as a student, but it didn't really resonate with me until like the last few years, is the idea that the real healing happens in the relationship. And therefore, like, it's obviously, I'm not minimizing the value of training. It's tremendous, and we have to be skilled 100%. But a therapist who has a tremendous amount of skill but is not relatable, connectable, or anything like that, their skill is not going to go anywhere. I think actually the studies show that it's like 80%
Exactly.
is the relationship, which is like a crazy number.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was
I've
actually
heard that. I've definitely heard that. Yeah. Like everyone says it. It kind of becomes cliche, but when you work from that perspective, I
yeah,
think it becomes so apparent that that's the truth.
yeah. But even I'm telling you, the first many years it didn't speak to me. Because I was heavy focused skill and training and doing it right, and like a lot of that was just either my own anxieties about if I'm doing it right, or like thinking that I'm so smart, and like that getting in the way of the relationship, you know. So I think over time, just calming myself down, that like there'll be time to get to everything or anything that I need to get to. Hopefully I'll make time. But the most important thing, like I spent a lot of time doing my own getting to know myself, getting to know who I am as a person, as a therapist, really good supervision, therapy, whatever it takes to just really get to know you and become the most genuine person you could be in the room, which I did not have confidence to be. Like, I did not know that I could do that in a room in therapy. Like, there was no permission. I was given permission, but I wasn't confident. It was more about my skill and my
Right.
know-how
I love that.
rather than my humanity. And it's something that really just
Right. That rather than the person. Right.
I think it has to take time. Like, it makes sense
I think.
that, yeah, it made
Sure.
sense that it
Sure.
didn't
Because
happen.
you can't develop your. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah.
it fits with the quote that you have on your OK Clarity website, which is
Oh,
human
yeah, yeah,
first,
yeah,
therapist second, or something like that, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly, right.
Totally adds
And
up.
by
It's
the
so
way, the
true. And I
person,
think I honestly, yeah.
go ahead. I'm listening. Go.
No, I was saying that, like, I honestly, you said you couldn't pick the one thing that was like the most important piece of advice, but I honestly think that's probably the most important piece of advice. Like, I honestly think that sharing, dispensing that for younger therapists that are younger in this path, whether they're the same age or older even, but starting out or just building their practice and their reputation, like to know that is the number one thing to do. Develop yourself so you can be, and with an emphasis of being the best human being that you can be in the room is probably the number one thing. Like you said, if it's 80% of the results of the actual therapeutic results, then clearly it's the most important thing to do.
Yeah. Can I tell you a crazy study real quick? I think there was a study
Please,
I
yeah.
heard about when I was earlier on. So there was a study where they basically had people do like a first session with 4 or 5 therapists, and sort of like choose which one that they related to the most and which one they would want to continue seeing. So they would like have them sit down with like 5 different people or something like that. And there was one person who, like, it seemed like was the most popular out of all of them. They wanted to like identify like what it was about, but that person was a dentist. In reality, that person
Say
was a
again?
dentist. That person was by
A
profession,
dentist?
a dentist. Yes, a dentist. So it wasn't even
Oh
a
my goodness.
therapist,
Okay.
right? So
Wow.
they were just an awesome human who like was taking their time to listen, right? And it had nothing to do whatsoever with
Yeah.
what they know, right? It was all about just like being real.
Wow.
So it's a very good
That's
lesson, and
incredible.
it took a lot of time for it to develop. And I went back to the person who like encouraged me early on with this, and I actually was like very frustrated with them because here I am like feeling like it's like I can't practice well, or I don't know what I'm doing. And like, you're telling me that is my strength. That's like crazy. Like, it doesn't make sense. How am I helping anyone? So I was like much more
Yeah.
focused on like training, but like training in the very like not too deep work, like more of the stuff that's like something that I don't have to open myself up to that much. It's more like on the surface, and I did that for a long time. And
Right.
doing my own work, I realized for myself that was just my own fears of like being able to be more open. So that took a lot of time, but
Exactly. Right.
yeah,
Right. Like they say people like argue on it, but they say like you can't take your clients further than you went yourself. I don't know if people like fully own that, or I think there's like it's contradiction. There's like contrarian views around that, I guess. But I think that it's very similar to what you're
It's so
saying.
hard to
Like when
measure.
you're able to be open up, like open yourself. Say it again.
Yeah, that's so hard to measure. I don't
Say
know
that
like
again.
how far. Can you hear me? You hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
It's so hard to measure. Like,
yeah.
how do you know how far you yourself went? Like, I don't know what that means. I'm still going. I'm
Right.
still continuing. It's like very hard.
Of
It's almost
course,
like
of course.
you reached a certain place, and now that's where your clients are gonna go. Like, the whole thing is a journey, like the
Right.
destination. So it's just very hard for me to
Exactly.
understand that what that means exactly. But
It,
could I could I point out a couple more things? Is that okay for a minute?
sure, sure. Yeah, you're breaking up, so I hope that it's coming across
Oh
clearly for the
man,
people that are listening. But we still have people on, so I'm assuming they're gaining.
I'm really sorry. Brooklyn's still a good place, even if it's all broken up over here. It's okay. So basically,
Yeah.
the only thing I just wanted to say is that
Yeah.
the what was hard for me also is like you sit in very meaningful work, like sacred work, and you sit with people who like are showing so much courage and a tremendous amount of like vulnerability, and like I can't
Mm-hmm.
imagine doing anything else with my time. Honestly, that's just how I know I'm in the right place, even though it's really really hard. But what happens
Mm-hmm.
is when you go like
Mm-hmm.
into the world and like you're at a regular Shabbos table or like in shul and like people are like complaining about like whatever or like talking about
Mm-hmm.
seems so mundane. It's like it was very
Mm-hmm.
very hard for me to like I guess it was almost like I couldn't be like regular, you know, not because I'm better, just because like
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't so there was like no place for it. Like it's just not important anymore.
Right.
But the truth is that it's like
Yeah.
super super important, and I had to learn how to like just be normal and like talk about regular stuff and like just be a regular person. And I think that
Right.
was very hard for me, but like to keep that in mind is I think a very important thing.
Yeah, I think that's a very smart lesson too. Like that's so true. Like not to like it could almost feel like you're above those petty mundane conversations and not see value in
Yeah,
them because they're
it,
not so intimate, they're not so deep.
yeah, it wasn't even about me. Like I'm
But
better.
they are.
It just like
They're yeah.
it just like didn't. It was like silly. It's like baby stuff, you know. But it's really
Right, right.
it's not
It's
at
not
all.
only like a better thing. Yeah. Right. It's more about like it doesn't have the same richness as an intimate therapy session
Right,
has when you're
right,
like, thank you so much for my groceries, or how was your day, or
right,
you know what I'm
right,
saying, or
right,
have a great day. Like those exchanges are not as intimate and not as meaningful and deep, but they're still
right.
so
But
important
they
to
are.
humanity and to everyday
They are.
life. Exactly.
And to myself, I have to be regular. Like it can't. Not everything has to be like deep and connectable and so connecting. You have to. It's you just get
Right.
burnt out of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Totally.
more stuff,
Anything
but I
else
don't
on
know
your
how much
mind,
time you
or
have.
we're ready to?
Yeah, I have some more stuff. I
Okay.
don't
I
know how
mean, I
much time
think
you
we
have.
have another 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Two
Okay.
more. 2 more minutes. Go
So
for it. Give me your best thing. Two
okay.
minutes. Go.
No problem. No problem. The other thing really is like therapy is like a very, very lonely place. I did not really realize that, meaning
Mm-hmm.
as a therapist. There's no colleagues, there's no one you can share your work with so much, right? It's very confidential. It's really just like
Mm-hmm.
you holding on to like so much and having like nobody to share that with really. And just also just no
Mm-hmm.
socialization. Like there's no I sit in my office all day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in an office suite. I do not see the other therapists ever. I don't even know who comes, when they come, what time they come, what
Wow.
day they come. So like it's like
Wow.
very 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 lonely, and to find like opportunities to like really just socialize but b to also like have people who just believe in you, who just keep encouraging you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's just as a human and also as a therapist, just to keep going and keep going, keep going. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you need to take breaks and stuff like that, which I'm preaching about, but I'm not that good at. But like to really just
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you are, you know, connected with other things and other people, and getting the
Yeah.
empowerment that you need and the encouragement. So yeah,
Right. No, for sure, for sure. That's very important. And like people don't realize that when they go into private practice. Yeah, I think in a clinic setting, there's more of
yeah,
that like community
yeah,
sense. But when you're on your own, it's very
yeah,
alone. It's very lonely, and you need to like create your own, whether it's a professional like group of friends that you can talk to that understand the heaviness of your work, as well as having other social life, other outlets. Exactly. And I think that's
Yeah.
a really important lesson for people that are looking to get into the space, like in a serious way, like you are.
Yes. And honestly, that doesn't mean don't do it, right? And sometimes I remember
Right.
I literally have memories sitting in the classroom in graduate school, saying to myself, like, how on earth am I going to do this? Like, this is so much. And also, like, will
Well,
I be successful? Like, there's so many people
hmm
who I don't know if they ever made it. I don't know. Even from my class, by the way, many people left the field. It's like it's a
well,
very hard field
it's
to
hard.
stick in, to stick with.
Right.
But I remember like thinking like,
Super.
will I make it? Will I make it? You know, financially? Will I make it
hmm
as a professional? And awesome mentor, Dr. Kiva Perlman, who I still am in touch with.
hmm
He's amazing. I
hmm
remember him telling us like, I'm telling you, there's a room for everyone here. Everybody here could grow. Everyone can make it. And like the skeptical side of me was like, I don't know about. But like to just stick with it, and if your heart is there
hmm
and you really just have good people around you, it could really be awesome.
hmm Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much, Aya. This was incredible. Thank
Pleasure.
you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing so like vulnerably and openly. And my pleasure.
Always.
And I feel bad about the
Anytime.
connection. That was like the only thing that was perfect. But hopefully
Anytime,
in the
sir.
recording it will be a little bit better.
We have to
Say it
do it
again?
again. Just if we have to do it again, just let me know.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I
No
will.
problem.
Absolutely.
We'll make
Thank you,
time.
Shaya. Have a great rest of the day.
Pleasure.
Thank you
You
everyone
too.
for tuning in. Bye
Thank you.
bye.